The U.S. government is using extraordinary means in order to avoid hitting the debt ceiling. Yes, we have been given a debt ceiling that we're not supposed to go past, but every time we bump against it, everyone just keeps bumping it higher and higher and higher. We become more and more indebted, and nobody seems to ever want to do anything about it. We got the debt ceiling battle coming up, and the June deadline seems to be approaching, and so the posturing has significantly begun. Let's jump right into it, folks. This video is brought to you by Genesis Gold. We thank them for sponsoring these videos. If you want to talk to them about moving your retirement funds out of stocks and bonds and other risky investments over to something solid like silver, gold, platinum, you want to talk to them, down in the description down below, you can find their number and their phone number. Let them know that we sent you, and they will waive your setup fees. So the U.S. House of Representatives is set to vote this week on a 4.5, don't want to be $100 billion off, $4.5 trillion proposal, 320 pages, and it will raise the debt ceiling till about 2024. April 2024, and it will raise it by $1.5 trillion because, you know, we all have $1.5 trillion laying around. So why can't we just raise it by another that amount? So with this $4.5 trillion proposal, yeah, that's with a whole bunch of spending cuts. I know it's surprising. How can it be $4.5 trillion and yet it includes spending cuts? There's basically three things in this bill, apart from the debt ceiling raising. So it raises the debt ceiling, but then it also cuts spending. It has some significant cuts in there. Tens of billions of dollars of cuts. Yeah, I know. Tens of billions when we're talking about trillions, right? I know a lot of us would like to see a balanced budget. We'd like to see trillion-dollar cuts or something close to that so that we don't have to keep raising the debt ceiling, but rather we can actually, you know, at least keep it still while we, you know, even think about how we could possibly pay it off. But the three things in there is spending cuts, permit reforms. So basically, like, why you need to get like a permit to do basically anything these days. If you are in any sort of industry, you need to get certified to do that. If you're in finance, you need to get certified to do that. If you are in hairstyling, you need to get certified to do that. It's just permits for everything. It's like you can't make money nowadays unless you get approval from the federal government or state governments to do that business. And that is just problematic. If you try to build anything on your own property, if you've tried to do anything at all, you seem to need a permit. Everything is not a right anymore. Everything that you want to do is a privilege, and you need to get approval by the government to do that privileged thing. Your driving is a privilege, walking is a privilege, everything is a privilege these days, and they're trying to reform that. And then the third thing is work requirements for social programs. Now, obviously, it's not talking about Social Security or disability, but it is talking about a lot of these other programs out there requires work. And so there already are some work requirements, but this increases the work requirements for getting handouts from the federal government and also from government programs for poverty alleviation. Basically, the idea is you need to work in order to get the free money from the government. So that obviously targets, once again, specific programs. Programs, I believe, that already have work requirements on them. So if you're on a program that doesn't have work requirements, this wouldn't change that. But if you are on a program that requires 20 hours of work, I think it's moving up to 30 hours per week of work in order to stay eligible for those programs. So the debt ceiling itself would be raised $1.5 trillion and would be projected to get us through about April of next year. Now, will this bill ever clear the House? It's doubtful whether even they will be able to get enough Republicans on board to vote yes on this. Democrats are asking for a clean debt ceiling increase with nothing, no riders, nothing attached to it. Of course, they want the debt ceiling just to go up so they can then continue on spending as they want. Whereas Republicans are saying, we want a few concessions here. We want some things to start coming down and not just keep spending out the wazoo. With the fact that we haven't actually passed an actual proper budget for the U.S. government for several decades is concerning. We just keep passing continuing resolutions where it just basically says, well, we'll increase this program by such and such a percent. We'll decrease this program by such and such a percent. It never actually starts off with a clean budget and actually says, what do we actually need to spend money on? There's all sorts of provisions, and it makes it impossible to actually do anything with the government spending, it seems like. But at least there's some movement towards doing some things here. This is just the opening negotiation. So Speaker of the House, McCarthy, is hoping to enter in negotiations with President Biden and potentially the Senate as well, or maybe the Senate won't even really be a part of the conversation. But whatever it is, that seems to be that it's a staring contest between House Speaker McCarthy and President Biden, whether they'll be able to hammer out a negotiation or whether they'll be able to strong arm each other into with the court of public opinion to accept their proposal. So this, at very best, this would be what would be passed, or at the very worst, just a straight debt ceiling hike that's just gonna kick the can down the road once again. Or most likely it's going to land somewhere in between. There may be some concessions made. There may be very ceremonial concessions made. We're really going to see what Speaker of the House McCarthy has, whether he's got the nerve to hold firm until he gets the concessions that they're asking for, or whether he will, fold like a cheap suit. I'm not super optimistic. These career politicians, particularly McCarthy, he has a reputation for being a DC insider. So he's probably going to fold. And I hope not. I hope I'm wrong. But that's what it seems like it's going to be. Every time we go to these debt ceiling fights, every time we go to a budget fight, we never get any real cuts. We never actually get any programs shut down. We never get any massive stimulus programs stopped. We always just spend more and more and more and more. And there seems to be nobody in Washington, D.C. of any influence or who has any power at all to ever stop any spending. We occasionally are able to kind of stop tax hikes in their tracks, but we can't stop spending hikes. And that just leads us to a place where we are. And of course, if we have a government shutdown, that will be seen as the end of the world, which of course, I'm supportive. I think we should just shut down the government and just keep it shut down. I kind of wish that they would just do that. That way, only the essential government employees would actually be getting paid and actually working. That would seem sensible to me. I mean, we're in such a debt crisis that only essential government employees should be working. Everyone else should be fired, right? I mean, that just makes sense. If they're not essential, then why are they working? I don't know. That just makes sense to me. Anyway, that's what's happening this week and what we'll be seeing ramp up over the next couple weeks. And of course, we're going to have the media out there screaming that it's the end of the world, the sky is falling. How in the world have we gotten to the place where some of the federal government might have to shut down for a temporary period of time? Heaven forbid. All right, folks, prepare yourself for the squealing and the gnashing of teeth because it is coming your way. Now you kind of know where both sides kind of stand right now, and we'll see where in the middle we land and how long it takes us to get there. All right, folks, if you found this video to be useful or helpful, you might want to check out another video up here. Please do consider signing up for the newsletter and getting on the email list so that we can stay in contact if anything ever were to happen to me on this channel. and also other creators that you love. We want to stay in contact with you. Thanks so much for watching. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.